Today I have on Armida Escarcega. This is an incredibly special interview, you guys. I was so privileged to be able to have this really intimate conversation just about sex, especially sex in marriage and what that looks like, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how there can be a lot of healing with your intimate life, with your husband, with your wife, with natural family planning. It was just an incredible conversation. And you'll notice too at the beginning of the interview, I introduced her as if we were going to be talking about the pill and about just the pill versus NFP. And that was the total intention at the very beginning. And I think the Holy Spirit really just wanted us to talk about something different. And what we ended up talking about was just incredible information that I really wish I had a long time ago, but better late than never. So whether you are single or married and you're listening to this, I think this can be helpful information really for any state of life, and just hearing the reality of what it looks like to use a fertility awareness-based method, to use natural family planning, and how it can be helpful and healing for a marriage, not just because of the family planning aspect of it, but because of how much more it actually offers. So I really hope that this conversation really does bless you, because it really blessed me, and I am really excited to share it with you today. This episode is just a part one. We talked for a long time because we had a lot of good things to talk about. So I did split this interview up into two parts. So this is the first of two parts of this interview. The second part will come out next week. So be sure that you listen to this interview or this episode, part one, first before you go to part two, because you'll definitely need the context of this first half of the interview. But I hope that you enjoy today's interview. Welcome to the Truth and Fertility Podcast. My name is Haley and I am your host. I work at an OBGYN clinic where I teach women and couples how to chart their cycles so they can either achieve or avoid pregnancy, and also to manage their fertility. I have a huge passion to teach women and couples about the beauty of their fertility and how the pill is never the answer to women's health. There's a lot of good and not so good information out there about fertility. And so my goal with this podcast is to help you sort out the truth from the weeds. I want to teach you how to chart your cycle and to reach your family planning goals, while also maybe even possibly locating hormonal imbalances and to receive proper treatment. I want to help you get in the best hands that you can with the best doctors that you can to reach optimal reproductive health. So if you're ready to get on this journey with me to learn more about your reproductive system, how it was created and how it should be working, and the best medicine in order to make it work if it's not, then you are in the right place. Today I have on Armida Escarcega. She is a longtime friend, used to be my boss, and she's just a lovely and amazing woman in the NFP world, fertility awareness-based methods world. So I wanted to bring her on the podcast today to really talk about just her experience with natural family planning and why that is such a better solution to women's health than the pill. She is full of knowledge. I always tell her that I just want to suck her brain into mine because she has so much good information. So Armida, I will let you introduce yourself and we'll get going with the conversation.
Haley, it is such an honor, such a pleasure to be with you. It is true, long-term friendship. I was wondering right now that when you joked about my knowledge, that was when I was your boss, so I'm kind of wondering if they had anything to do with that. Just kidding. I have been a natural family planning instructor for almost 30 years now. Wow. Okay, sounds like a lot. I think it's like 27, and of course a user for my family. I worked about 12 years in the clinical setting. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I still have the frame that you gave me for Dr. Armida. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you do.
I know it's not valid.
It's valid in my book, Armida.
But you know what? It gave me an understanding of women's needs. It's funny. My knowledge was, my dream was to help women get off the pill so that they can enjoy the benefits of natural family planning, not only based on the fact that it was bad for them physiologically and health-wise, but also because I reaped the benefits in my relationship with my husband with it. Benefits that I did not know. The reason that I started to use NFP was morally because of my faith. But then I also did not want any birth control in my body, any hormones. So the main reason to use it was because I wanted to plan my family just in a natural way. And I had some benefits that I was not counting on. I had heard about them, but it's one of those things that you think, maybe it doesn't matter. All of a sudden, my husband's, we're having better communication, my husband and I. So there's these things that are a plus, and I'm going, wait, what? Where do they come from? And perhaps we'll have a chance to talk a little bit about my experience when we go. But, and now I have been the diocesan coordinator for the Office of Natural Family Planning at the Catholic Diocese of Phoenix for the past 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is where you were my boss.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. My first curiosity is, so you were saying that it really helped you in your marriage using natural family planning, and it even not only for just family planning, but also just communication with your husband. Yeah. Did you and your husband use that right away when you got married, or was there something else that you used and then you decided to switch over to natural family planning? Kind of give me an idea of that.
That's a good question. No, we did not. So again, and this is because of our faith that we decided not to use any type of contraceptive. The curious thing is that I thought that because I was not using any type of contraceptive, I was magically going to, everything else in our intimate life was just going to work very well. That was not the case. One of the things that I have learned, and this is really with my counseling with women, is that even though the needs of the couple are as varied as couples are there are certain patterns that we can expect, and this is just because of human nature. So we women are different. When I say this, I am generalizing. There are some women. So whenever we talk about effects, either physiological effects or sociological effects, it's always a generalization. One can never say this is how it's going to be with you. But it is kind of nice to know what to expect, in the general area. So one of the things that I noticed that I did not know that was wrong is that I stopped having a desire to be with my husband intimately. If you would have asked me, what's wrong on me, that don't you find your husband, attractive? I would have said, absolutely, yes, I do find him attractive. Look at him. He's handsome, a good father, a good provider. All of these good things were there. But if we did not make love for 2, 3, 4 weeks, I was happy. He wasn't.
Right.
And so there were, and precisely because I found him attractive, because I loved him, is that this whole I don't feel like it, it was baffling to me. What is going on? And the question was, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? When a woman starts to ask herself what's wrong with her as far as her desire for her husband, then we can only do it so much before it causes us a lot of grief. So then we start to need, I don't know, I guess to safeguard our own minds, we need to start looking to blame outside. And so the closest one was my husband. You want sex all the time. And my husband's response was, well, you never want it. And one of the things that I learned is that when there is when things in the bedroom do not go well, even though things and the rest, and the rest of your life are really good, the poison that you create in the bedroom, it goes under the bedroom door. And it expands into some things. So we women can snap at our husbands out of the blue. They don't know what it is, and we feel that they need to know what it is, but if they try to say it in any way, say, hey, how about tonight? We look at them and we go, are you from another planet? Don't you see me busy with the kids, with work, with whatever? Because for us it's constant. For them is, hey, things are going well. We're outside the bedroom, and of course their desire for us is very normal. It's just very normal. So when that started happening, I had no idea that I would relate it to our attraction, because I was attracted to my husband. If he wanted to kiss me, hug me, anything of those things, I was all in.
Right.
It was just when we would get a little bit more into that, those hugs and kisses, that there's this alarm going off, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's gonna want to make love now, so let's stop this train. I did not know what was going on. Then I'm sitting down at church of all places,
of course,
and there they have this, the priest had invited this woman, at the time the director of the Office of Natural Family Planning, ages ago. And so she says, would you like to learn natural family planning? And then she started to mention, it was a 4-minute talk, and she mentioned some of the side effects on the couple with the use of hormonal contraception, which I had not heard. I had heard of the physical side effects. I had not heard of the other ones.
What were they?
Well, it's actually lack of desire, between the couple, or problem relating. The one that completely woke me up was, she said, are you feeling used as a woman? And to the man he said, are you feeling dejected, neglected? John and I look at each other and we went like, wait, what? We are not using contraception. So what is going on here?
You kind of felt like that was still your...
It was what you were experiencing. It was what we were experiencing.
But you weren't even using contraception.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So then you start to think, wait a minute. So what is it that we are doing that the couples that are using that is similar to them? So that really, I just wanted to raise my hand and stand up and say, I'm here, sister.
Yes.
I caught up with her after church, and then that's when it all got started. And I mean, my story is way long. Do we have time?
We absolutely have time. And I love this topic. We actually had a completely different plan for topic, but I want to dive into this because I think this is so needed. Because we talk all the time, or at least I talk all the time about the physical side effects of contraception, but we don't always talk about how it can be so damaging to a relationship. But you're even telling me that you weren't on contraception, but you were not using natural family planning either at the time. So you guys were just kind of winging it, like just doing, you weren't doing anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it was. I had some knowledge.
Okay.
I had some knowledge. So I'm sure your listeners already know that there are certain signs of fertility that a woman does have. And so I knew when to find them, especially the cervical mucus. And so I had an idea. Oh, there it is. I might be fertile. Don't ask me whether, I should wait, how it looked, nothing like that. So I sort of knew. And that was how we were doing it. To be fair, when we got married, we had decided that we wanted a large family. And my husband has a large family. I don't come from a large family, but I wanted one. Okay. So it's like, have all the babies come,
Yes.
Well, 4 years into our marriage and 3 kids later, I was like, okay, I still want all the babies to come, but maybe not that quickly.
A few years in between.
just some breather. And I know that it's different for every woman. I hate it when we are told hate is a strong word. We are told you need to have babies this way or the other one or whatever. For me, as far as my faith is concerned, is I need to be open.
Right.
Open to life, open to those children. But the church does not tell me they need to come one after the other one.
Right.
It is important. The church is a champion for responsible parenthood. Mm-hmm. But what does responsible parenthood mean? It's not only can I afford this baby, because let's face it, we could not afford them in many occasions. That doesn't mean you should not have them. Responsible means responding to. So responding to what? To this gift that I have of being a co-creator.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So how am I going to respond to that? Mm-hmm. And I need to wage what is going on in my life, always with the view that I have this gift. Mm-hmm. And so at the time for us, going back to that story,
right.
It's not necessarily I don't want any more kids, but for the first time in those 4 years, I truly, you looked into my diaper bag, Haley, and you couldn't distinguish from, diaper number 1 or diaper 3. I loved it when they started to put numbers on the diapers because...
Oh my gosh. Okay. I didn't even know there was a day when numbers weren't on the diapers.
They did not. They had these sticky things that if talcum powder, which we used to use, and so your listeners know, don't use talcum powder for your baby girls. But no, there was not.
Yeah.
And so one of my crises was that. Open the diaper bag. I have 2 kids screaming, and I'm like, wow.
I don't know which diaper is which.
That's such a silly thing. But I remember I started sobbing.
Yes.
John is like...
Because if you're already frazzled as a mother and you can't find the right diaper, absolutely, that's a nightmare.
Well, my husband is looking at me as though, really, Maureen? But I think it was an alert for both of us.
Yeah.
What should we do? I was able to put the name on a lot of things. In my case, it was truly being afraid of another pregnancy. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
Afraid because I was so tired. Not afraid of a baby. But I started to feel guilty. There were all these feelings coming that I just did not know how to name them. And every time I pushed my husband away was not because I wanted to push him away, even though that's what I wanted. But it was mostly because I was afraid of that. I did not want to get pregnant again, not with a 6-month-old, holding a 6-month-old. So
would you say that was like the root? Because you were explaining earlier how you felt attracted to your husband, but when it started to get more intimate, there was just this block or this wall, and you didn't want to continue that. So did you find that was the root of being afraid of pregnancy, or was it something else?
Well, it was something else.
Okay.
It was no, I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. It was 2 things.
Okay.
So I think my main one, I do believe my main one, was that I did not want to get pregnant having such a young baby. But I don't know if anybody that is listening to us right now, I know that's not the case with everybody, And welcome, you get pregnant, and then you get pregnant again, and that's great. And there's some others that believe there needs to be a pause. As long as we are always bringing God into the picture, if you ask me, if we're bringing God into the picture, then we're doing the right thing as far as our family planning. It's always, what do you want? What do you want from this baby? So for me, it was, yes, I was afraid of getting pregnant because I was tired. But so many years had gone in which I was pushing John away that I started to resent him because I had to push him. So it was 2 things. It was more, like I said when I listened to that woman at church, it was feeling used. Where I think that at the time, even if I would have known that I was not going to get pregnant, I was already resentful of my husband. why do you want sex so much? Dang it, you know?
Yeah.
And his question was, why do you want it so little? And obviously, both in our heads, we're thinking not the same thing, but something that would take us to the same path. In my husband's head was, if you loved me, you would want it. And then on my head was, if you really loved me, I wouldn't feel like you just want to use me just to get more sex. So, and this was an unspoken thing. Well, no. We came to a time when our marriage came into a crisis. It was that. It was this, and not a crisis of I'm going to divorce you, honestly, but a crisis in which I was fine if he did not touch me, you know, for days and days at a time. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I still make you your enchiladas, you know. You're a good dad. You're kind of cute. I'll keep you. I promise that too. But it was one of those things that you sort of say, there's no end. This is, you know, Cinderella is just a fairy tale. There's no happy ending. This is what it is. What I found out after, just fast forward, you know, we did learn NFP. At the time, I asked my husband, I said, you know, I spoke with Peggy after church.
She was the woman
that was the woman,
gave that talk. Okay.
Yes. And she said, well, there's this, I said, I just want a class for NFP. I love what you have to say. No, I don't want to be an instructor, but I just want a class. And she goes, the next class was in like 6 months, or there were not that many at the time. Right now, you can find them every week. But there were not that many. So 6 months. And I'm like, no. This just cannot wait. And then she goes, but there's a training in 2 weeks.
To be an instructor?
I'm like, that's mine.
There you go. You're roped in.
At the time, the cost was like $25, and the training was like close to $200. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know?
Yeah.
And then I remember telling John, and he goes, here's the check.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so he wanted it too.
He wanted it too. Okay. But the funny thing is that my husband said, okay, you learn it, and you tell me when we can make love. And I'm like,
that's a big burden to put on you.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Not that he knew that, because he's a good man.
Oh my gosh, we did not know anything.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens when there's intimate friction is that it is easier to blame the other one for what is going on than to try to see. We can blame ourselves, but if we don't know what we're doing wrong, then it's like, okay, why do I change? And then when our partners, our wives or our husbands, as the case may be, tell us, because we know what the other one is doing to us, we know what we're feeling. When they tell us, it's in such a way that it is too heavy on our hearts. You always do this. You never want this. You know, it is so those kind of accusations really don't go well to one's heart at all. And it is easy to shut them down. So what happens is you stop trying, you know, because you still love the other one. Then things go back to normal, okay, for a little bit, until they surface again, until that poison comes again. And then it's just your vicious cycle, and you can be like this for years, and not know what's going on.
And a question that I had earlier too, before because I want to dive into, okay, you learned NFP, became an instructor, how did that change? But you mentioned feeling used, and you weren't even using contraception. It was just, you felt used.
Yes.
And I know your husband, I know John, I know he would never intentionally use you. I know he loves you dearly. And so where do you think that came, like, can you explain that a little bit more, of how inwardly you felt used when externally with John that was not the intention by any means?
That's a great question. Let me see if I can put it in words, because nobody has asked me like that. I tell you, one time we had been teaching we had been teaching NFP for maybe 2 years. We had gone through this, this phase of, and John, I had asked him for forgiveness for for the words that I said. He had done that too. I didn't realize it, but I was still carrying some resentment because it was easier for me to remember, even though he had asked me for forgiveness. I'm the kind of person, not all of us women are, but I am. Pray for me so that I'm not like that. But I was carrying some resentment sometimes. And we were teaching a class, and he was the one standing at the time, and I was in the back just reviewing some certificates, and he's talking to the man there, and he goes, we did not use, when we first got married, we did not use any type of birth control. He said, but I need to. He says I need to. Make a note on that, because my wife wasn't using anything, but I was using her. I tell you, Haley, I was in the back room and I almost started sobbing, because then I realized I was never able to tell him exactly how I felt. And when he mentioned that, and then I realized that's what I'm carrying. That's what I'm carrying. It just there's this healing, and then that was it. I haven't felt like that forever.
What came, like, how did he come to the understanding of what he was doing?
I think he was able to, I think I was able to externalize it myself. I think he was able to understand that there was a course that we took on theology of the body, and this deals with the understanding of who we are as men and women, in our relationship, our sexual relationship. Isn't it amazing that a 70-year-old Pope,
celibate
that
Pope,
actually
so
understood.
much.
It was amazing. And I think it sort of put words for us, for our feelings, in that he understood how he felt. And when he understood how he felt, that he felt rejected and all those things, I think it just clicked on him that if he was feeling that way, then what I was feeling must also be valid. And I know it's difficult between the sexes to get to that, because it's difficult to understand the other one. You know? It's what it is. But I know I went off on the question and I never answered.
No. That you answered the question. Like, how did he come to a realization that he was using you? Because that was never. I'm assuming that was never his intention. Ever.
No, my goodness, never. No. And I know him, and this is one of the things that when we were having these troubles, that's how I felt, and my big struggle with my husband was that I felt that he was using me, and I would tell him, I mean, you did not want to be in our room when we were having these arguments. Because we were not kind to each other. And so there was this big feeling that I was feeling used. And I always struggled with the fact that I was married to a good guy. But I always came to the conclusion, if he is that good, how can he be doing this to me? So it was, you just can't put a finger on it. In the end, when I found out what we had in common by not using, and I want to, before going forward, I want to make it clear that you do not need NFP to have a good marriage. You don't. But you do need to have a good understanding of what are the other one's needs.
Okay.
So
physical and emotional.
Yes, indeed. So yes, there are many couples, bless their hearts, and some that I admire, many that I know that are not using any form of birth control nor any natural family planning methods, and they have happy and joyful marriages, and that is great. And in my case, and I'm sure that the communication is that good. In my case, it wasn't, and I have to tell you that it also has to do with my own faults. Armida's fault. You know?
We have to face ourselves
Oh
at
my
some
gosh.
point. Not, thank you,
my-
marriage. That'll do it.
Oh my Lord. Yes. So I found that it was very easy for me to blame him. The feelings were, if he loved me that much, why did I feel that he wanted to make love so often?
Right.
He must not be wanting it for myself, but just for himself. Because what was natural for me was my desire, my normal desire. You know that, and your listeners know that the pill does affect our desire.
Yeah,
you know, libido
absolutely.
is crashes,
Yeah.
you know, to the floor many times. So depending on what formulation of hormones you're taking. But when you're not taking it, my normal desire for my husband was not every day. And for him, it seemed to be that.
Yeah.
So the only conclusion that I could draw was, he must not want me because of me. He must just want me because he wants to, you know,
Right. 'Cause of
satisfy
his-
himself.
Yeah.
So that became a true thorn